These are the best characters to start building in Marvel Mystic Mayhem. We are going to go over every character in every different class and rank them based on who would benefit you more to upgrade. Quick disclaimer though, for specific team compositions a character might be way higher up because of the potential team synergy. For example, Moon Knight might be more valuable for your account than Psylocke would be if you have Thor. But let's begin with the defenders, your tanks essentially, and this is one of the classes with the most good options, I believe. Armor is the best 2-star physical option, and her taunt is incredible in quests with multiple enemies because her shield provides great survivability. At lower investment she is actually better and more comfortable to use than higher rarity options as well. Hulk is the best 2-star special damage option for defenders, good self-sustain and the ability to provide debuffs and special AoE damage. In an Emma Frost team for example, he can easily be better to use than Armor. Juggernaut essentially if you start upgrading because the higher you invest in him, the closer he gets to being the best tank in the game and for your account. When you unlock his taunt, he is undoubtedly the best, in my opinion. Good survivability, but also very impactful special damage that has the potential to be AoE too. Angela technically is the worst defender in the game right now, but she is still usable. She can be situationally good if you need to group enemies together for characters with strong AoE damage like Iron Man, for example. But outside of that combination, you will most likely prefer the options above. Sentry is a hybrid tank DPS character that you will mainly prefer to combine with high healing controllers like Doctor Strange for him to survive easily but also help your DPS out. In those cases you could also use a second DPS of course, but if you need the tank and don't have a need for self-sustain, you go with Sentry over Hulk. Generally he can actually also be considered the best 2-star special damage tank in the game over Hulk, but it is situational depending on what you need and what your team is looking like. And finally, the newest featured character is a great versatile one, Captain America. It's like he's the Strange of defenders in a way. He has defensive options like damage reduction for all of the allies and taunt, but also offensive ones like damage boosting. You can adjust each quest depending on what you need, and he also has some AoE physical damage. As you saw, I placed him under Armor for now, simply because I think it is much easier to use her as a traditional defender. But of course, if you pulled for his banner and got him, you will invest into him, not just leave him on the sidelines. I just don't think you should be going out of your way if you're not too excited about the character specifically to grab him, because the other defenders available are definitely very usable. That is my ranking for the defenders, but overall I think we have a balanced class with different good options for different team compositions, which is a big positive. The strikers are up next. They are the ranged damage dealers and have some amazing 3-star options in Iron Man and Scarlet Witch specifically. Both have very strong AoE damage, but Iron Man focuses on physical damage while Wanda on special damage and crit. If you manage to get them, building them is a great idea, and Iron Man of course has a featured banner, and I would say his mobility is super nice to have to reposition properly and hit as many enemies as possible with his attack, but even perhaps take less damage if the enemies surrounded him. Storm is another 3-star character. She is good and can also be obtained for free, but her damage is much less compared to the other 3 stars of this class. She is more of a sub DPS if you will, and can be used in double DPS compositions of course, or even Mr. Negative ones, even though specifically the negative ones are not that great at the moment. She sacrifices some of her damage for more utility and debuffs that your team can take advantage of in a fight. Misty Knight is a decent option for a beginner character with debuffs and AoE damage. Do not expect her to compare to Iron Man or Scarlet Witch of course, she actually feels like a much worse version of Iron Man because she has the ability to hit multiple enemies but cannot reposition in a favorable angle, which can be pretty annoying to also use. If you of course miss some of the better options, investing a bit into her is not a bad idea, especially for quests where AoE physical damage can be helpful. Lady Bullseye is the best single target DPS in the game, and because she is so easily accessible early on, everyone should invest into her, even if it's just to test her out before resetting her during the ongoing event. She is much better versus solo bosses, as she is versus multiple enemies of course, because she literally has no AoE in her kit, which can result in slower clear time with multiple targets present if not combined with another DPS. Thread is the final character for this class. He should not really be a priority right now for you because his archetype is not that strong. You can try him out with Moon Girl and Man Thing, but until better summon characters are released, he won't really shine. He definitely has future potential though, since he is a key part for the archetype. Moving on to fighters, the close range damage dealers. Thor is an absolute beast and by far the best fighter in the game. He has great special damage, movement and even AoE potential. If you have him, you max him. Simple as that. Psylocke is a great beginner special damage dealer and also has some AoE in her kit. Her dashes can be helpful and can even make a good combo with Lady Bullseye and a healing controller to assemble a follow-up team, but I have to admit, she might feel a bit more underwhelming the more you progress in the game, but she is far from a bad hero and one of your best special damage options if you miss Thor. Moon Knight I wouldn't really invest too much into, but he can be situationally good. For example, if you have Thor, he can be an interesting addition to his team. He is a bad combo with most ranged characters though because his buff and ultimate have smaller range of effect. He's not a strong damage dealer, more of a controller hybrid character, so in no way will he be able to be a solo fighter or the solo damage dealer in your team. Echo will probably go over Moon Knight. She's another pretty nice character focusing on single target damage and can be included in follow-up attack combos with either Bullseye or Psylocke, depending on the damage type you also need of course. If I was between her and Lady Bullseye though, I would definitely choose Lady Bullseye. Doppelganger is another character built around single target physical damage, but he can apply increased damage taken to the enemies and has mobility in his kit. He can be used early on, but generally there are simply better options in this category like Lady Bullseye and even Echo. He's not a super strong character and I wouldn't really be investing a lot of resources into him. And finally for the fighters, Mr. Negative is only played in debuff teams with Storm and Spider-Man in order to get more damage. If you miss these two, I would not really bother with him, but to be fair, even if you do have them, he might be too restrictive in team building, not allowing space for a controller or a tank in quests where they might be needed, so personally he's not one of my favorite options. And finally, the controllers, the more supportive class that has quite a few heroes available, but lower rarity ones are either weak or super situational, so let's go over them. Spider-Man is first up, he's a 3-star hero. He's kind of a niche debuff controller that definitely has potential and can be used outside of negative teams too, but other better options as of now are simply preferred. And the reason for that is that Spider-Man has essentially no survivability in his kit and cannot provide healing like more comfortable controllers to use, for example Doctor Strange. Hopefully he will gain more traction with future character releases though. Doctor Strange is simply the best and most versatile controller in the whole game, so you definitely invest into him if you get him. He can provide amazing heals, ultimate charge, stuns, debuffs, and even buffs to allies. The only possible scenario in my opinion where you might let him be on the bench for a bit is if you use a special damage focused team with Emma Frost as the main controller. Then you can wait a bit on Strange, but outside of that you will most likely build him as soon as you pull him. Sleepwalker is your first and best controller to use before upgrading to either Doctor Strange or Emma Frost, or simply using a more niche composition, maybe without a healing controller, or just even without a controller perhaps, but you will have to invest into him early on in the game, for sure, and in my opinion he is by far the best 2-star controller because the rest of them are pretty niche, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Controller is the class with majority of heroes in the game, and a lot of them are not really worth to get higher up in levels or even abilities. The best advice is most likely to max him out until you get Strange or Emma Frost and then reset him while the event is ongoing and you have the ability to do so. Moon Girl is another free character you get early on and another character that focuses on summons because Devil Dinosaur counts as a summon. Not overall that great or comfortable to use in many team compositions, and if you're not using the Thread team, you won't really use them that much, to be honest. You simply have better options. Dream Queen is kind of a much worse Emma Frost with no damage or high healing potential. She can be used in special damage focused teams to provide damage buffs, but have in mind she can't sustain a team by herself, so it's probably just better in a lot of cases to run Sleepwalker if you miss better options. Man-Thing is super dependent on the summons team right now with Thread. If you're not using that team, you won't use him at all. Falcon is similar to Dream Queen, but for the physical damage side of things, his survivability is also pretty bad, and he can't provide healing but shielding. Overall, he's not that great, but he can be situationally used. And finally, Emma Frost, the second best controller in the game, and becomes even better with higher investment, elevating special damage teams to another level. So if you have very strong special damage dealers, combining them with Emma Frost will make them even better, but even for characters like Psylocke for example, she can be a huge boost. And these are the best and worst characters for each class to invest into in order to improve your account. And in case you're wondering what are the best teams to use in Marvel Mystic Mayhem, you can check out the video on the left. As always, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.